talk about consensus building. It's quite a hot topic, and it's essentially my job. It's essentially what the ENF has been doing for since its inception, and it's essentially what I've been doing for the last 4 years in this ecosystem. It's trying to find consensus, what that means, how does that even come about, and how do we continue building consensus to ensure that the ecosystem, as much as possible, continues going forward or going towards a direction that essentially encompasses as many stakeholders as possible, and that people within that ecosystem understand why we're going in that particular direction. And so one of the things, I guess, the way that I could put it as simply as possible, and this is essentially my job, is to speak with stakeholders and to find out what their concerns are, and to find out what their vision is and what they would like to do and how they would like to address certain concerns and where they would like to go in the future. But then meeting them where they are instead of expecting others to meet you where you are. And that really is essentially what that is with every single stakeholder. You find out as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible, where they are in their thinking. You meet them where they are. Once you're able to meet somebody where they are, that particular stakeholder, and meet them where they are psychologically, where they are financially, where they are from a technical point of view and their understanding and such, where they are in their current life. Once you're able to actually meet them there, then you're able to understand them. You're able to put yourself in their shoes and understand what their concerns are and what their wants are, what their needs are. From there, then you have an idea of, and once you do this with everybody and as many people as possible, you kind of get a sense of where everybody is. And then you're able to work on, this is where we want to go. If I know where we are right now with each individual, and I know essentially where the general consensus, the median and the average of where everybody wants to go, then I can try and get people to go in that direction, because we're now walking together. We're walking the same path. I understand where they are. It's much easier to bring people to where the consensus, or where the majority of people want to be. And so it's that exercise of finding out where the person is and bringing them. Now, part of what we see is that sometimes people have this brute force mechanism of consensus, where instead of meeting people where they are, they expect everybody else to meet them where they are, right? It's expecting others to meet me where I am currently. And if you do that, well, essentially that's lacking empathy. That's lacking the capability of being able to understand others. And essentially those are poor consensus builders. Poor consensus builders don't have the capacity of empathy, or they don't have the capacity of meeting where they are, in order to perhaps guide them and lead them towards where the rest of the community, for example, in this example, would like to be. And so the big part of my job, and I've mentioned this in a few other videos, a big part of my job is just continuously being in meetings. And so in general, I would say that I'm in meetings about maybe 12 to 14 hours a day, every single day, 7 days a week. And so typically my day will start at 8 or so a.m. And it will go off till about 1 a.m. or so the next day. Now, there's a few periods in between where I eat. But otherwise, I'm essentially in meetings all of the time, and I talk to people, and I talk to different types of stakeholders. I talk to the developers, I talk to investors, I talk to business owners, I talk to regular token holders, I talk to community members, I talk to different people from different kinds of walks of life, from different cultures and different languages, and I try to find out as much as possible and have my ear on the ground as much as possible, which is why I also say I read all of the chats that I'm in, 100% of them at all times, and most of the time, if I'm awake during those hours between, let's say, 8 and 1 a.m., I read them live. So I read them as it's happening, because a part of that consensus building as well, and this is really important. This is something that I don't think that people understand the value of this. It's not just reading the channels, and I've never really mentioned this before. It's not really just reading the channels. when you read a channel live, you get to see the response rate. You get to see when people replied. You get to see at what frequency they replied. You get to see if people deleted messages. You get to see, was it a quick barrage back and forth? Was it a spaced out interaction? Who came in, who left, etc. And you get to see that across multiple channels. So you get to see, and you get to start to get the feel of who people are. You really get to understand who they are, what they're looking for, what their skill sets are, what their fears, their concerns are. And it goes back to, then you're able to meet them where they are. And when you're able to meet somebody where they are, you build that trust. And when you build that trust, then you start to be able to walk down the path together towards the future. And that's essentially my job. The largest part of my job is reaching that consensus. And that's what I've been doing in the last 4 years in this ecosystem. It's essentially meeting people where they are so that we can walk forward together. What do you think? What's consensus for you?